What happens when a struggling software engineer gets the job offer of her dreams from a mysterious tech billionaire? Alina thought she'd finally escaped poverty and found her perfect life, till she discovered the terrifying price of working. For Zephyr Cain, love is tested, secrets are revealed. Choices change everything. You ready for a story you can't stop watching? Comment where you're watching from, smash that like, subscribe, and let's begin this unforgettable journey. The rain hammered against the cracked window of Alina's studio apartment, each drop a reminder of the bills stacking up on her kitchen table. She stared at the email on her laptop screen, the words blurring as exhaustion weighed down her eyelids. $20,000 a month, full benefits. Penthouse office overlooking Manhattan. The offer had arrived at 3 a.m. from Cain Enterprises, the tech giant that had revolutionized everything from social media algorithms to military defense systems. She'd never applied there, even dreamed she could qualify for such a position. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through the contract details. Senior software architect. Direct report to the CEO. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number, Miss Vasquez. The voice was silk over steel, commanding yet intimate. I trust you've had time to review my offer. She recognized him instantly from magazine covers and news interviews. Zephyr Cain, the youngest billionaire in tech history, whose piercing blue eyes had stared out from Forbes covers since he was 25. Mr. Cain, how did you get this number? A low chuckle. I make it my business to know everything about people who interest me, and you, Alina, are very interesting. The way he said her name sent an unwelcome shiver down her spine. Her laptop's camera, she caught a glimpse of her reflection, dark circles under brown eyes. Her grandmother's rosary hanging around her neck, the same worn sweater she'd been wearing for 3 days while coding freelance projects just to make rent. Why me? She whispered. Because you wrote code that shouldn't exist. Your encryption algorithm for the Martinez cassette broke through systems my best hackers couldn't touch. You have a gift, Alina, a way of seeing patterns others miss. Her throat went dry. The Martinez case had been pro bono work, helping a whistleblower expose corporate corruption. She'd never publicized it, never put it in her portfolio. How could he know? I need someone who thinks beyond conventional boundaries, Zephyr continued. Someone willing to push ethical limits for the right price. What kind of limits? Silence. Stretched between them, filled only by the rain's relentless rhythm. The kind that separates visionaries from cowards, he said finally. You've spent your whole life watching from the sidelines, Alina. Watching while others with half your talent get opportunities you can't afford. I'm offering you a chance to change that forever. Her laptop screen flickered, and suddenly his face filled the frame-sharp cheekbones, dark hair perfectly styled, eyes that seemed to see straight through her. Even through the digital connection, his presence was overwhelming. But I should warn you, he said, his voice dropping too barely. Above a whisper, this position comes with certain expectations. Complete loyalty, absolute discretion, and the willingness to do whatever it takes to protect what we build together. Lena's heart pounded against her ribs. Everything about this felt wrong, too good to be true, too dangerous to ignore. I need time to think. 72 hours? He cut her off. After that, the offer disappears, and Alina. His eyes seemed to burn through the screen. I've been watching you for longer than you know. Don't disappoint me. The connection ended, leaving her staring at her own reflection in the black screen. Outside, thunder crashed, and she realized her hands were shaking. Alina stood outside the gleaming Cain Enterprises tower, her reflection warped in its black glass facade. 48 hours had passed since the call, and she'd barely slept. Contract sat in her purse like a loaded gun, every clause memorized, every implication considered. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and steel, designed to make visitors feel small. Zephyr's assistant, a sharp-featured woman in designer clothes, led her to a private elevator that rose without stopping to the 57th floor. He's waiting, the assistant said, her smile practiced, but hollow. The elevator doors opened directly into Zephyr's officia. Sprawling space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He stood with his back to her, hands clasped behind him, watching the ant-like people below, you came. His voice carried satisfaction mixed with something darker. I came to give you my answer in person. He turned slowly, and she saw him clearly for the first time. The magazines hadn't captured the intensity of his presence, the way he seemed to pull all the oxygen from the room. Thin scar ran along his left temple, disappearing into his hairline, and he moved toward her with predatory grace. I need to know what you're really asking me to do. Her voice was steadier than she felt. Zephyr's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Smart. I like that about you. He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Sit. Let me tell you a story. She remained standing. 5 years ago, he began, settling into his chair, I discovered that every major tech company, every government, agency, every institution that claims to protect people there, all connected by code. Backdoors, surveillance networks, control systems. The digital prison is already built, Alina. I'm just deciding who holds the keys. That sounds like conspiracy theory bullshit. His eyes flashed with something between anger and admiration. Is it you? Cracked the Martinez encryption? Saw what Meridian Corporation was hiding? Child labor? Environmental destruction? Political blackmail of it buried in financial algorithms designed to look legitimate? Alina's blood chilled. She'd found those files by accident while building the encryption. The scope of the corruption had made her physically sick. How do you know what I saw? Because I put you on that case. Zephyr leaned forward, his intensity laser-focused. Martinez wasn't a whistleblower. He was working for me. The whole thing was a test to see if you'd do the right thing or take the easy money. The floor seemed to shift beneath her feet. You're lying. Am I check your bank? Account. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone. Her checking account showed a deposit from 3 days ago. $50,000. The amount Martinez had promised to pay her for the encryption work money she'd refused to accept. I never took. His money? No. But I made sure it found its way to you anyway, along with anonymous payments for your grandmother's medical bills last year. The scholarship that kept your brother in college. The rent check that mysteriously cleared when you were 3 months behind. Alina felt like she was drowning. Why? Because I needed to know who you really were, whether you could be bought. Or if your principles ran deeper, stood and walked around the desk, stopping just close enough that she could smell his cologne. Turns out you're exactly what I thought. Incorruptible, which makes you incredibly valuable. You've been manipulating my life. I've been protecting you. His hand touched her shoulder, gentle but possessive. Do you think it was so coincidence that every company you applied to turned you down? Every interview that went nowhere, I made? Sure, you stayed available until I was ready? Rage burned through her confusion. You destroyed my career. I saved it. The companies that rejected you are all under federal investigation now. Their executives are going to prison. I kept you clean, Alina. Kept you safe. She jerked away from his touch. For what? What do you want from me? Everything. The word hung between them like a blade. Your code, your loyalty, your trust, your complete and total surrender to something bigger than the small life you've been living. If I refuse? Zephyr's expression went cold. Then you walk out of here, and by tomorrow morning, evidence surfaces linking you to the Martinez corruption. Your family loses their home, your brother gets expelled, your grandmother's treatment gets cut off. He paused, and that would break my heart, Alina, because despite what you think of me right now, I care about you more than you know. The casual threat delivered with such intimacy made her skin crawl. You're insane. I'm in love with you. The words hit her like a physical blow. She stared at him, seeing the sincerity burning in his eyes, and realized with growing horror that he meant it. This wasn't just about her skills or her code. This was about possession. Sign the contract, he said softly. Stay with me. Let me show you what we can build together. Her hand moved toward her purse, toward the contract. That would seal her fate. Outside the windows, storm clouds gathered over the city, casting everything in shadow. 6 months later, Alina's reflection stared back at her from the bathroom mirror of her company-provided penthouse. Designer clothes, expensive makeup, a life of luxury she'd never dreamed possible. But her eyes looked hollow, haunted by the things she'd done in Zephyr's name. The code she'd written could monitor anyone, anywhere. track their movements, read their messages, predict their behavior. It was supposed to prevent terrorism, stop crime before it happened. At least that's what Zephyr had told her. Her phone buzzed. A message from an encrypted number. The coffee shop on 5th Street. 1 hour. Come alone. A friend. She almost deleted it. Almost. But something made her hesitate, a desperate hope that someone, somewhere, might offer her a way out. The coffee shop was nearly empty, rain streaming down its windows. A man in his 50s sat in the corner booth, his face weathered by years of disappointment. She recognized him immediately. Detective Ray Morrison, the cop who'd investigated the Martinez case. "You look different," he said as she sat across from him. "Guilt has a way of changing. People, I don't know what you're talking about, don't you?" He slid a tablet across the table. The screen showed surveillance footage of her entering a server room at 2 a.m., uploading code that would later be used to frame a journalist who'd been investigating Cain Enterprises. This was 3 weeks ago. The same night Miranda Torres was arrested. For allegedly hacking government servers, Alina's stomach clenched. She remembered that night Zephyr's hands on her shoulders as he guided her through the process. His voice soft and reassuring in her ear. "Just a small adjustment to the security protocols," he'd said. "Nothing that will hurt anyone. She's facing 20 years in federal prison," Morrison continued, "for a crime she didn't commit, but you already know that. I was following orders." "Were you following orders when you helped destroy evidence in the Westbrook trial? When you created false digital footprints that sent an innocent man to death row?" His voice was quiet, but each word hit like a hammer blow. "How many lives? Alina, how many people have suffered for your comfort?" She wanted to argue, to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come. Every project Zephyr had given her, every late-night coding session in his private office, every gentle kiss he'd placed on her forehead as she worked, all of it had been building toward something monstrous. "Why are you showing me this?" Morrison leaned forward. "Because I think there's still something human left in you, something he hasn't completely destroyed." He pulled out a second tablet. "We know about Project Oracle. The mass surveillance network you've been building. Tomorrow night, Zephyr's planning to activate it during the UN Security Council meeting. Every world leader, every diplomat, every person in that building will be completely exposed to his control." The air seemed to leave the room. "That's impossible. The system isn't ready, isn't it?" Morrison's eyes were hard as flint. "Check your recent code commits. The patches you uploaded last week. Did you really think they were just performance improvements?" With trembling fingers, she pulled up her development environment on her phone. The code she'd written in a haze of exhaustion, and Zephyr's constant presence, looked different now, viewed through the lens of Morrison's revelation. Hidden functions, backdoors, kill switches she'd never noticed. "Oh God," she whispered. "He made me build a weapon. The FBI has been trying to get evidence against Cain for years, but he's too careful. Everything goes through you. Every piece of illegal code bears your digital signature." Morrison's expression softened slightly. "There might be a way to stop this, to save those people and yourself." "How? Help us testify against him. Give us everything you have." Alina's laugh was bitter. "You don't understand." "Me, completely. I try to betray him, and everyone I love dies. It's my family, my friends. He has dirt on all of them, or he'll create some." "What if I told you there was another way?" Morrison's voice dropped to a whisper. "What if you could destroy the whole system from the inside?" Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Zephyr. "Where are you, my darling? I'm waiting in your office." "We have work to do tonight." Morrison saw her face go white. "He's tracking you, isn't he?" "Everything," she said faintly. "He sees everything I do, everywhere I go, even now." "Then you'd better have a good story ready." Morrison stood, leaving both tablets on the table. "Because your choice isn't about whether to betray him anymore. It's about whether you're going to let him turn you into a monster." As she walked back toward the Cain building, rain soaking through her designer coat, Alina realized that Morrison was right. The woman who had walked into that coffee shop was already gone, replaced by someone she didn't recognize. Someone who had helped destroy innocent lives with keystrokes and algorithms. The elevator to the 57th floor felt like a ride to her own execution. When the doors opened, Zephyr was waiting. his smile warm and predatory. "There you are." He pulled her into his arms, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I was starting to worry. The security feeds showed you at a coffee shop, but I couldn't see who you were meeting." "Old college friend," she managed. "Just caught up on gossip." His eyes studied her face with the intensity of a forensic analyst. "You look pale. Are you feeling all right? Just tired? Well, we can't have that. Not tonight." His hands moved to her shoulders, kneading the tension there. "Tomorrow changes everything, Alina. After Oracle goes live, we'll have the power to reshape the world. No more corruption, no more secrets. Perfect order through perfect information." She looked into his eyes and saw genuine conviction there. He truly believed he was saving humanity, even as he prepared to enslave it. "Zephyr," she said quietly, "what if we're wrong? What if we're the monsters in this story?" His expression hardened. "Monsters don't love the way I love you. They don't sacrifice everything to protect the people they care about." His grip on her shoulders tightened. "But speaking of protection, I should mention that Detective Morrison won't be bothering anyone anymore. Tragic car accident on his way. Home tonight." The words hit her like ice water. "What?" "Rain makes the road so dangerous," he said, his voice gentle as a lover's caress. "One moment you're driving home to your family, the next you're wrapped around a tree. These things happen." Alina realized she was shaking. Morrison's weathered face flashed in her mind as determination, his desperate hope that she might still be saved. "You killed him. I protected us." Zephyr's hands moved to cup her face. "Just like I'll always protect you, no matter what it costs. Now come. We have work to finish." As he led her toward the computer terminals, Alina caught her reflection. In the dark windows, the woman looking back at her was a stranger, hollow-eyed, broken, complicit in murder. But behind the reflection, barely visible in the glass, she saw something else. Morrison's tablets, still sitting on the coffee shop table, where he'd left them. Evidence. Truth. A chance for redemption. If she was brave enough to take it. 2 years later, Alina sat in the prison's visiting room, her hands folded on the metal table as she waited. The bullet wound had healed, leaving only a small scar on her shoulder and a permanent reminder of the night everything changed. Her testimony had put Zephyr away for life, but the case had destroyed her reputation. Her career, her freedom to live without looking over her shoulder. The door buzzed open, and he walked in. 2 years of federal prison had changed him, perfectly. Styled hair was now gray at the temples, his expensive suits replaced by orange fabric. But his iced-host piercing blue eyes that had first captured her remained exactly the same. He sat across from her, his movements still carrying that predatory grace even in shackles. "You look well," he said softly. "You look older." Ghost of his old smile flickered across his lips. "Prison ages you." "Right. But I suppose you wouldn't. No immunity agreement and all."
"Right."
They sat in silence, years of shared intimacy and betrayal hanging between them like smoke. The guard at the door watched them carefully, aware that this was no ordinary reunion. "Why did you come?" Zephyr asked finally. "I don't know." It was the truth. For 2 years she'd told herself she never wanted to see him again. Prison approved her visitor request. She hadn't been able to stay away. Closure, maybe. Have you found it? Peace. Alina considered the question. She'd spent the past months in therapy, trying to untangle the psychological web he'd woven around her. Some days were better than others. Some nights she still woke up reaching for him, her body remembering the security of his arms before her mind remembered the cost. "I'm learning," she said. "Day by day." "Your grandmother." The question hit like a physical blow. "She died 6 months after your arrest. I was with her at the end." Something flickered in his ice grief, she thought, or perhaps just the memory of how to feel grief. "I'm sorry." "I know how much she meant to you." "Do you?" The words came out sharper than she intended. "Because you would have let her die alone." "For your grand plan, yes." His honesty was brutal and immediate. "I would have sacrificed her, your brother, even you, if necessary." "That's what you never understood, Alina. Love doesn't conquer all. Sometimes it has to make impossible choices. That wasn't love, Zephyr. That was obsession, was it? He leaned forward, and even now, even knowing what he was, she felt her pulse quicken. Then explain to me why you're here. Explain why you've visited me 17 times in 2 years, always finding excuses to stay just a little longer. She had no answer for that. The visits had started as a form of self-punishment, she told herself. Then, as research for the book she was writing about, their story. But the truth was simpler and more complicated. She came because part of her still belonged to him, perhaps always would. I dream about you, she whispered, even now. Even knowing what you did, what you made me do. In my dreams, we're still in that office, and you're telling me how we're going to change the world together, and I believe you. His hand moved across the table, stopping just short of touching hers. What if I told you it wasn't a dream? What if I told you there are still people on the outside who believe in what we were building? Ice flooded her veins. What are you saying? I'm saying that love finds a way, Alina, even through prison walls, even through betrayal. His voice dropped to that intimate whisper that had once made her feel like the center of the universe. I'm saying that in 6 months, when I'm transferred to minimum security, there might be an opportunity for someone with your skills to help with a computer problem they're having. The visiting room seemed to tilt around her. No, I'm done with that life. I'm done with you. Are you? His eyes bored into hers. Because the woman who betrayed me, who destroyed everything we built, wouldn't be here right now. Have visited me 17 times? She wouldn't still wake up reaching for me in the dark? Alina stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I'm leaving. Of course you are. Zephyr remained seated, perfectly calm. You'll walk out of here and tell yourself this was closure. You'll go home to your empty apartment and your carefully structured life and pretend you're free. But we both know the truth, don't we, Alina? She turned back to him, drawn by the magnetic pull that had never fully released her. What truth? That you destroyed Oracle not because you found your conscience, but because you couldn't bear to share me with the world. His smile was gentle and devastating. You wanted me all to yourself, even if it meant having me in a cage. The words hit her like bullets, each one finding its mark. Because deep down, in the part of herself she never examined too closely, she wondered if he was right. If her moment of heroism had been just another form of possession. You're wrong, she said, but the conviction had leaked out of her voice. Maybe, but in 6 months, when the opportunity comes, when someone calls with an offer to help me disappear, to build something new together. He stood slowly, his chains rattling. We'll find out, won't we? The guard stepped forward. Time's up. As they led Zephyr away, he looked back over his shoulder. I'll be waiting, Alina, however long it takes. She stood frozen until he disappeared through the door, then stumbled out into the parking lot. The winter air burned her lungs as she leaned against her car, trying to process what had just happened. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The package arrives Tuesday. Be ready. A friend with shaking hands. She deleted the message. Then she got in her car and drove away from the prison, from Zephyr, from the gravitational pull that threatened to drag her back into his orbit. But as she drove through the gathering darkness, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't escaping, was just delaying the inevitable. Some loves were too powerful to die, some bonds too deep to break, some cages she was beginning to realize were built from the inside out. 6 months. The number echoed in her mind like a countdown timer. In her rearview mirror, the prison disappeared into the night, but she could still feel his eyes watching her, as patient as death, certain as gravity, waiting the end.